Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Helping Friendly podcast. Happy New Year! I'm Megan. I'm here with Jonathan. We have entered into the 40th year of Fish. Just so incredible. And after this weekend, it really feels like just an awesome time to be a Fish fan. And I'm feeling like really this huge sense of gratitude and togetherness. It's kind of cheesy, but I'm leaning into it. I was talking to Jonathan before we went live, and I was crying during the Show of Life encore on New Year's Eve, and I was listening at home. So I can't even imagine what it was like in the room. So, Jonathan, I'm so excited to hear about the show because you were in the room on New Year's Eve, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, just a
Jonathan,
little.
a little bit. I'm skipping to the end and we haven't even started yet. Jonathan, how are you? Happy New Year.
I'm great. Happy New Year, Megan. I'm sorry I didn't get to see you. I go all the way to your town to see a Fish concert, and you're like blowing it off that night. So lame. What's up?
I know. It's
I
so
mean,
lame.
I
I
can't
did
imagine why you might have been tired.
I know. Well, it wasn't the tiredness. I had plenty of energy. I would have kept going despite my lack of sleep, but family called, so I had to make the trek up, but I did get to see 2 nights and I am really happy with the shows that I saw and still kind of rejuvenated and glowing from that experience. It was just a phenomenal weekend of music and just community, so it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, lots of great music. Kind of, I don't know if surprising is the right word because it's Fish, and Fish tends to deliver for New Year's. I know we did like last year we did spend a whole lot of time talking about New Year's shows and MSG shows and all that stuff, and I think the consensus was that like they usually do pretty well. Um,
Yeah.
I think that
Exactly.
happened here. um,
Yeah, and they also do well at MSG, which we
yeah,
also talked about a lot last December. And yeah, they deliver there. And I feel like they had something to say about just who they were and who they are at MSG and who they deserve to be. So I thought that this weekend was a real statement. And it was really
yeah.
exciting.
I think they gave us what were looking for. So I was at home, as you say. I just saw the fourth night, which was pretty good. Spoiler alert for anybody who's not caught up. Um, but I think the big thing to look at is how they came out and played 4 complete shows. Duh, of course they did, but I think 4 distinct shows as well.
Mhm.
They're they're quite different. Every morning I looked back at the show if I hadn't listened live, and I didn't listen to most of it live because of things in life, just part of why I wasn't there. Um, and I felt pretty good about what I heard. Like, and that's after the first night, after the second night, third night, and yeah, on the train home after the fourth night, I felt pretty good about that one too. So, how, overall, what's your sense here? Without
I think
like
it was
doing final takeaways or whatever, maybe, but
Yeah, I think it was a really, really, really strong run. I think it surprised a lot of people. I think the first night was better than people expected. And I think the second and third nights were contenders for the best night of Fish all year. So I think it was just an absolutely incredible run. And then I think the fourth night, the gag seemed just super special and memorable. And I'm really excited to get into it. But I think overall, what stood out was just the energy and inspiration from the band.
yeah, it turns out they're still a pretty cool band.
Yeah, turns
So
out. Despite the torch passing conversations and despite everyone saying they were gonna go see other bands on New Year's Eve because, like, Fish is over, I think Fish came back and showed why, they're not to be missed.
Fish isn't over.
No, and they
Oh,
never went
okay.
anywhere despite
Oh,
texts
right.
I received saying that they were back after the second night. But they haven't gone anywhere is what I've always been
It's
saying. They've
true.
been there the whole time.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like we discussed. Was it last time when I might have mentioned? Yeah, we were doing our, you know, favorite things, favorite shows of 22 so far, which our lists may have changed.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I called somebody out for not enjoying Dick's as much as maybe I did.
Yeah.
Um, Dick's was pretty good, and
This was
this
good.
also good. I think if you liked that, in September, then there's no way you shouldn't have enjoyed these shows.
Well,
So
these were considerably better shows than Dick's, I think, overall. I
I
would say.
again, I think you're underrating the
Okay, that seems fair.
Dick shows a little bit, but these were
We
good
can,
shows, and I think
these were really
maybe
good shows.
a little more consistent. But I'm not a big rank. In fact, I I want to tell you about a thing I thought of on the way up to New York City
Yes,
on the
please.
train. I was thinking about fish because I was going to see them, and I was thinking about how some people, even some people that we love, like to rank fish, like to rank performances by fish, rank songs and all of that. And I'm not into that really. I don't like to rank things. I don't really like to say this is better than that. Sometimes it's glaringly obvious that something is not good, but that's different. And also not super common with fish. I will cite at
Yeah.
least one thing from this run though with that. But to me, and this is kind of what I've been doing kind of unconsciously for a while, but this is my plan going forward. I Again, no ranking from me. To me, fish is pass fail. Fish,
Mm.
if they collectively cross a number of bars or metrics that cannot be spoken or understood or explained, so don't ask,
Or just listen to the
then the
pod where
show's
we
good.
try to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, we'll talk. We could talk about the things in general terms, but no rule is fixed.
Yeah, I agree.
No lines are visible. And nobody's lines are the same, and
Yeah,
that's the
it's not
thing.
like
So
an
everybody
exact
else can apply
scorecard.
this way of judging or enjoying is probably a better word because that's what it's for. It's not about judging. It is about enjoying fish. And some nights you may come out and not have enjoyed it, but if they're improvising, jamming, having fun, you're having fun, playing good songs, some combination of these, and some, if you put them all on their own individual bars of a bar graph, you would see some days this one's higher, and some days this is higher. And it doesn't matter if it accumulates to a good show in your heart, that it's a good show. And I don't care whether it is a better show than that show from last Thursday or that show from back in April. And I say April. Oh, they did play April this year.
They
Or
did.
May or whenever they didn't play. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to call out specific shows. It doesn't matter if this show is better than that show. What matters is that you had fun and maybe you want to do it again.
This is true.
That's all that matters to me at this point. And maybe that means I'm
Yeah.
not a great fish podcaster. I'm okay with
You
that.
still are.
I don't
No, I think it's
aspire to that. It's
perspective.
just a thing I do.
No, it's perspective. And I actually talked about that in the review that I wrote for fish.net about the 1230 show, in that for me now I appreciate fish in a way that I never did when I was young and saw the kind of the golden age of fish, right? I saw
Right.
95, 97, those years that people talk about are like the best years of fish, but I didn't
I like how you
appreciate it.
skipped over 96.
I mean, I saw the most fish I've ever seen in
Just teasing.
96, but it
I know
wasn't a
you
great
did. That's
year.
why
But
it's super funny that
right.
you skipped it.
But the best year probably in my fish life was 96. Like that's when I had the most fun. So it just
Yeah.
goes to show you. But I do think that I appreciate it. And a lot of people in our community, I think, appreciate the music now and the experience in a way that they didn't when they were young, if they were going to see fish when they were young. And that's just something I've been thinking a lot about. And it made me really feel just really open this weekend, because I think my first night that I saw on the 29th was so strong that it's like
Yeah.
I couldn't go into the 30th being like, oh, at the show, I hope it's awesome, because I just saw an awesome show the night before. And I think it just released me from these expectations that we
Right.
usually have in a way that was like totally freeing. And then I could just go in, and turns out they played a killer show on the 30th, but I was cool with whatever happened. Like I was just going to dance and have a good time. And it really made a difference. And I'm going to try to keep that with me. And I think that's kind of what you're saying too, Jonathan, is that like,
It is.
yeah,
Two things. one, our good friend Brian from Attendance Bias Podcast has a comment here. A lot goes into better though, and this is kind of what I was saying, but he adds an element that I didn't mention. So he says song preference, jamming amount, expense, socializing, etc.
Mm.
And I want to say socializing is big. I go to shows by myself, not infrequently, or I'll go to shows with friends and then end up by myself for a lot of the time, and I really enjoy that. But also, I really enjoy being with a good crew, which I had on New Year's. God bless the Pog family, Birdman, Pie Guy, Scotty, Crazy Dave, etc. I'm not leaving anybody out intentionally. It's just the list is really long. We had a big group, and they were all awesome, and it was so much fun. The other thing I want to add is I was finishing my dinner, my pre-show dinner on the concourse. It was on the moment I'm on the concourse without a mask, and a guy comes up to me and says, "Oh, you got any, plans, expectations? What do you think's going to happen tonight?" And I was like, I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was my usual kind of thing about no expectations. They're playing really well. I imagine they'll probably play really, really well. What's up, Benji? And his name is Will Rubenstein, and he said, "Hey, I really like listening to you guys on the podcast," and so I'm saying hi to Will right now,
Awesome. Well,
and because that's kind of goes to what you were saying. It's expectations will ruin a good time anytime, so beware.
totally. And I have to say, one of the best times I had socializing this weekend was we had a happy hour, Osiris, at the Bar Moynihan, which is the new spot, the new Pensy, the new place to hang out before the show. And it was really great. And we had so many people come by and just get to meet so many people that I have known on Twitter and just people that, I've been wanting to meet. And it was super fun. And I just appreciate everybody that came by. And it was great. We also had a really cool event with Relics Magazine that we did on the 29th. So we were at their
So with
studios and we had
Eggy, right?
Eggy there. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. And Eggy they were such nice guys. Amazing to see them like, just really close up in this small environment. And we had an awesome little crew watching, and we got to do an HF Pod recap with the editor from Relics, Mike Greenhouse. And then we got to interview Eggy, and they played like an hour and some for us. It was
How,
great. And
how
they
do you
had
fit that
Marlo
all
from
into
Melt.
an afternoon before a show? Didn't you have a concert to go to?
It was so tight, Jonathan. I like got into town at like 11. I like grabbed things, ran over, had some lunch, went to the studio, I mean, it was frantic, but it was super fun. The whole
Nice.
weekend was crazy, but so fun. So thanks everybody that supported all those things and watched the Twitch Relics show and came to the happy hour. We appreciate it. It was really fun.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
should we talk about these concerts?
Let's do it. Let's do
All
it.
right.
Let's start with
This is going to
night
be
one.
interesting because night one, I watched a lot of it from home,
Oh,
but not
good.
all of it. But I've listened to it. So we should, and I listened to it driving through Virginia into the mountains on Thursday. So had
Oh,
a
that's
really good
awesome.
focused listen. So why don't you take us there?
Yeah,
Set
so
one,
set
night one.
one. I mean, of course, they open with Buried Alive because I'm not there and I've never seen that song. And of course, they open with it. I was just like, thank you. Perfect. But really,
Look,
this is the perfect opener.
if they open, I mean, I've said it a million times. They open the show with it, it's going to be a good show. They open a run with it, look out.
I
There's one
agree.
exception to the open the show rule. We all know it. We'll leave it alone. Um, Good example, though. I mean, this one, Buried Alive, kicks it off. It was a nice version. I will say that Wolfman's Brother started slow. And I don't
I loved
mean
it.
like I hang on. I'm not here to shit on it. I'm just I'm working up to that. No, um,
Okay, good.
it started slow. It started notably slow, and my first thought in hearing that was, and this I heard by the way. I didn't hear this live. I was listening to this in the car on Thursday. I think I texted you when I heard this. My first thought was Fishman is. I hope Fishman is ready for this because he had his surgery earlier in the fall after Dick's, and at that moment, at the beginning of Wolfman's, I was worried.
Wow,
By
I
the end
didn't
of
even think
Wolfman's, I
about
wasn't
that.
super, super worried.
Yeah. I mean, you never really have to worry about Fishman, at least not in the rest of the run. It was incredible. I actually thought the Wolfman's tempo was maybe intentional. It was just so funky, and I thought it was super cool. It had this like very relaxed feel, almost like a 97 feel to it. I was into it. I really liked it. I thought the rest of the set was strong too. We've got Maze, Sigma Oasis into NICU, really well played Steam, Tila, which is always special. And I know there's always like a bunch of people in the audience that are waiting to get their Tila, or haven't heard Tila
Oh
since
yeah.
93 or 94 or something. So I feel like anytime they play Tila, it's just like a special moment. The best cool down song. And then this stash to split open and melt. And all I could think about was you, Jonathan, when I was listening to this. Honestly, this is like for you.
All
These
right.
two
So,
songs, I just think so much about you when I think of these two songs. So I want to hear what you
well,
think.
these these are like things I've talked about all year on the show. Buried Alive is something I always talk about on the podcast and I have for years, and how it tease up something. And obviously, lot in the past year, I've been talking about Stash, and including the last episode, Stash of Split
Yeah.
Open and Melt. This Stash opens up into this major key jam, which is maybe not the thing that I am signing up for when I say I want to hear Stash go long,
Yeah.
but I would not turn this one down. This is a great version. It really gets out, goes up, major key, as I said, peaks hard and finishes nicely. And then they go right into Split Open and Melt. Now, this I was watching live, and I was digging the Stash. I was commenting on it to my wife. She was ignoring me as she does, and I was like, "God, this is so great!" And they finished it. I was like, "Oh man!" And they drop into Split Open and Melt. I was like, "Oh shit!" And I guarantee there's at least a
Exactly.
percentage of the MSG said the same thing. Oh shit! Here we go, and it got
Yeah.
dark and weird, and that's what it's supposed to do.
Which is
And I
just
was
how
very
you
happy
like
with
your
it.
split open and melts, right? Yeah.
That's my shit.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's your shit. So it was so awesome to hear that. I just thought about you and I knew you were so happy. I also just think this combination is such a power move. I don't think it's ever been played back to back, and they are just
really.
so powerful. I don't know, at least not in a very long time.
If only
I'm
there were
not
a
as
way to
good.
find out.
Yeah, if only we could
We're
look that
gonna
up.
we're gonna go to the charts, but why don't you tell us about? Oh, so for everybody watching at home, we got the first half of like a page um rig rundown too, which was very cool. Those I think of all those have popped up on YouTube. So if you were at the shows or not paying attention, get out there and check it out.
Yeah, did you know that was gonna happen? I didn't know it was gonna
Yeah,
happen, and all of a sudden it just, like, popped up, and I was like, "What's happening?" He's just so
yeah,
adorable, and
they've
the way
done
he
those
talks to
before.
everyone. Yeah.
And, with Trey, remember Trey would gets that weird
Mhm.
eyebrow smile
Yeah.
thing in his and that everybody remembered. Um, yeah, and they're really cool, and, yeah, keep doing that. I want Fishman's next. I wanna hear Fishman talk about his drum kit. Um,
Yes, that would be so fun. I would love that. Maybe he'll do the next one.
that would be great. That would be great. I don't even know
Amazing.
anything about drums, nor do I play them, but I wanna hear Fish talk about his drums because I imagine he's very into them. Um,
Yeah, and just funny, anytime Fish talks, I feel like it's always, like, hilarious. He always says something
absolutely.
funny. Yeah, so that would be
So,
great. So, yeah, then set 2 comes up, and, we've got Free into Wave of Hope, into It's Ice, into Leaves, into Simple, to Plasma, into Twist, into Hood, and then an encore of Esther, 46 Days. I remember my friend who was at the show texted me after, and she's like, "I don't think they have anything left to play. Like, I feel like they played every major song last night." And it's like, of course they do, but they were dropping some pretty big bombs like the first night. The Simple and Hood on the first night is kind of like, okay, it's big.
yeah, no, it is. And this one, like, Free is good. You could
Mhm.
tell they're there to play.
Yeah.
Didn't go long. Wave of Hope, that one's pretty good. It's
This is
kind
my
of
jam of the night for sure.
there you go.
Yeah.
So it's a rager. Um, I really love the transition to It's Ice. It's a
Incredible.
true transition. You start hearing Trey kind of lean into it, and then they go without like, well, no ripcords. Um,
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's like not forced at all. I
right.
it was interesting when they started with Free, I thought is this going to be one of those awesome 4.0 frees? Because I feel like we've had some that have just been so good and interesting. And it wasn't that. It was well played, but it wasn't that. And the Wave of Hope, though, I mean, this song is just, I don't think there's any song with a better like batting average. It just always jams. And this jam was interesting throughout, like really, really great, pretty jam. And probably the only one that I've returned to since then from the whole night. The only thing I've replayed. Well, that's not true. I played the Stash and the Split Open and Melt, but beyond that, those are kind of the three things that like stood out to me from the show.
I think the set stands well as a piece. I mentioned the transition to It's Ice. Leaves is, I think, well placed. Good simple, rolls nicely into Plasma, into Twist. And then Harry Hood to close. How can you go wrong? Oh, and then they encore with Esther.
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. And they played Esther
Beautiful.
and MSG in April too. They're
That's
like
just not
bringing this
fair.
back. I know. It's crazy. They're bringing it back, and it's really great. Another special song to hear. I'm sure there's people always chasing that too. So I think
Yeah.
overall, this is a really good show. It's rated 3.748 on fish.net.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it a rating right now. So we're gonna
Yeah,
push
bump
that one
that
up
up a little bit.
Yeah. It's between you and me. I've been, and everybody listening, I guess, I've been doing that as we're talking about shows, and I find I haven't rated it yet, which is most of them because I don't come here to rate things, but I'm like, I
Yeah,
got
I
it
don't
up.
rate
Let's
much.
click on something.
I love that.
Yeah, they should
Okay,
give
so
me the
what did
power to
you?
give half stars.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. It's like 4 and 5. Those are very different, right? Like,
Right.
it's a hard. Yeah.
5 is a
It's a
pretty
hard one.
strong absolute, but sometimes if
Yeah.
I see something really underrated, I will go high, but
Yeah.
try not to.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's an argument to be made that night 2, 12, 29, 22 could be a 5-star show. This show, I thought, was fantastic. From setlist construction to jams to just flow, everything to me felt in the pocket this night, and I'm excited to dig into it. What were your kind of general takeaways for night 2?
Well, I'll tell you, Megan. First, let me finish pouring this
Yeah, that
delicious
was amazing.
beer by whom we are not sponsored. But just for the old school folks, I got a little Samuel Smith's Winter Welcome.
Oh my God, I just need like an oatmeal stout and like my patchwork
Yeah,
dress, and I'm back
there
on
you
lot.
go. Cheers.
That looks beautiful.
Um,
Cheers.
this is a good show. I mean, yeah, you can make that case. The rating is high, is high, and it's deservedly high. Fluffhead with a jam
22
again.
minutes.
Again with this
Again.
jam out of Fluffhead. Unfinished, but okay. And then into Your Pet Cat, outstanding.
Love it. Love it.
Good bathtub gin. Into Hey Stranger. I'm a little mixed on that particular song, but cool.
Same.
And then into Tube. This is the only thing I question here of this set because they just played Your Pet Cat, which is built on what is essentially a tube jam, at least rhythmically.
So you feel like it's too similar?
I'm surprised they played it in the same set, but then again, maybe they just wanted to get back to that groove. Half the time when Trey wants to get back to the groove, he just teases Your Pet Cat in whatever song he's playing. But I like Tube as a song. I like Tube as a jam. I don't think it's bad. So cool. Slave. Did you notice somebody said this to me on whatever night New Year's was, but that afternoon that the Slave, they rushed the intro. And I didn't go back and listen since they mentioned that, and I'm not sure I heard that. Maybe they did. And then
I don't remember hearing that, but
I felt like also
then
the Blaze On might have felt was kind of like they should just end the set with Slave. Slave is awesome. Just end the set. Come back, play a longer set.
So. But I have to
that's
say,
fine.
this Blaze On's great. I mean, I'll go back to the beginning. I think Fluffhead, this jam is so good. It's like sultry. It's really got a nice groove to it. I thought it felt like when they were jamming this, everybody was looking around like, okay, like this is actually, the show's going to be pretty freaking good.
It's on.
It's on. Excuse me. My dog agrees with that too, apparently.
The dogs agree. Well, they were afraid you were going to mention a pet cat, and
Yeah,
they know you don't want
exactly.
that.
They just didn't.
It just they dropped into that, but the jam, yeah, they held into that jam for so long. It's really good. And I want to hear more about what you say. So I hope those dogs are
Yeah.
going to settle
Yeah, I
down on
know.
you.
I'm like,
Yeah, just
somebody
talk
deal
over
with
them.
her
It's
up
fine.
there. I'll just talk over it. It's fine. Yeah, I mean, I was going into this show super pumped. I haven't seen a show since Atlantic City, and I was just very, very excited to see Fish again. And we had this event beforehand with Eggy, and I was just kind of rushing all over the place. And then we finally met up with our crew, and we get in, and turns out Matt from Osiris is going to be hanging out with us, and I got to spend the whole show with him. And we have never spent a show together, and we had so much fun. And we had our great spot up in this section where we have lots of dance space. And so this fluff had just kicked off what I thought was going to be an amazing night. And Your Pet Cat's one of my most favorite songs. And to hear them go into that so kind of like effortlessly and funky, and just it's like, yes, it was such a rocking dance party. And it was a jammed out version of Your Pet Cat with this huge peak, like this monster,
Yeah.
monster peak, the end. And I remember at the end, everyone's looking around like, what song number is this? Like, this is the second song? That just seems crazy. And then they go into Bathtub Gin. And again, we're building these soaring peaks, trays, just like really, really making these gorgeous, huge, huge peaks that were just beautiful, really perfectly played. Bathtub Gin. Paige sounded amazing throughout the whole time. I agree about Hey Stranger. I think they did a nice job with it. Like, considering this has only been played acoustically, it made a nice transition to an electric show. They sounded confident doing it. It didn't sound like hesitant or weird. And it had a nice landing after the gin peaks, but it's not my favorite song, but I think maybe it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Tube though
Yeah,
felt
they're
like a nice answer after that, because it was just kind
yeah.
of like okay, let's start this up again. What were you
Yeah,
gonna say, John?
I think I was gonna say there's one of the sections in that song was really I was really feeling in Hey Stranger, and I hope that they lean into that and find comfort in the rest of it and make it, kinda keep at it, keep trying. Uh,
Yeah. Don't give
but
up,
2 was
guys.
definitely a great one to pull out after something that may have been, a dip in energy for the band and the audience, and they can always drop into that, and everybody's ready to go.
Yeah, we were in the bathroom at the end of Hey Stranger, shocker, and that we could hear the beginning of Tube, and we're all like, "Okay, let's go, like, dry your hands on your pants, like, let's go," you know? It was one of those kind of moments, like, Tube,
Yeah.
short and sweet Slave, but I really
Uh,
love this Blazon. It's only 10 minutes,
s
but it has a crunchy, like, monster jam. This is the first time we started to hear some darker themes, and I agree with what Brian Weinstein's saying is this set really did have a set 2 feel. It felt like the beginning of set 2 with that fluff head, Your Pet Cat into Gin. That's like 45 minutes of like a lot of really, really good music.
6 minutes and 41 seconds, that Slave.
I mean, is that the shortest Slave ever? Like, it's
I don't know.
very short. I didn't even know they could play that song in 6 minutes. It's pretty impressive.
Is it?
I
Um,
think it's like 8 minutes, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's not impressive.
yeah. So set 2, opens with David Bowie, and then Everything Right into You Enjoy Myself, to Ruby Waves, and The Lonely Trip, back on the train into Character Zero. And the encore is Coyote and Possum. Let's talk about that set 2.
Wow. I mean, Bowie, the first set 2 opener since 11/14/98. That's a long time. 14 minutes, just gorgeous. Fishman absolutely delivering just an absolutely uplifting, beautiful jam. Fishman sounded incredible. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Bowie jam before we go any farther, though.
Another thing I have said stuff about this year.
Just a
This
little bit.
Bowie jam, it I mean, this is a good Bowie. It is not the deepest of jams, but it's a good Bowie, and it's well played, well put together, and I think it lands nicely. Which, of course, they keep doing this, they're gonna rip one wide open again someday soon. So
That's exactly right. This is like, I think this is a trend. Like, everyone we've heard is just like a little bit more exploratory than the last one. Like a
yeah,
little bit. I almost feel like they're just like working their way slowly up to that one that's just going to bust out. So it's going to happen.
Like
Hopefully when you're there.
we would never hear this from the band, but it wouldn't surprise me if, well, other than the fact that I don't think they'd ever say it, um, that they maybe felt like they had mined that vein too
Mm,
much back at a certain point in time. And too much is the strong phrase, anyways, but they had definitely done a lot in David Bowie over the years. And so leaving it alone, setting it aside for a bit, that makes sense. But it's time. You guys got new sounds, new energy. Yeah, Jordan is correct. The Alpine Bowie was great. We talked about that in the last episode, I believe. I think I did. Um, and yeah, this is a good one. And let's keep it. Let's keep it going. Um, and then they play Everything's Right, which, speaking of songs with high batting average, right?
absolutely. And this is a unique, expansive jam. Made me feel like I was underwater. There was just this kind of like bubbling feeling to it. I love this song. I love when they play it. I feel like it always leads to interesting places. And I thought it was really well placed here. I was not expecting Yam to come next, though. I really wasn't. That surprised me.
I think it's great placement. I like the jam and Everything's Right. I think You Enjoy Myself Right Here is really good. I think I might have dozed off on the train or wherever I was listening to this part of this set, but I remember Ruby Waves. I know I played the set through. I didn't just go to Ruby Waves, but I don't really remember anything unique or in particular about this You Enjoy Myself. Do you have
Well, yeah,
any?
there's one unique thing in that they didn't go back to the instrumental jam after the vocal jam, which the first
So a
time they haven't
standard
done
unique
that.
thing.
Yeah, a regular yam. And it was interesting because RJ came up and joined us during the second set in our spot. So RJ was hanging out with us during the set, which is so fun. I love to spend shows with RJ. And he turns to me right when yam started and he's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom during the vocal jam and I'm going to be back for the like when they re-pick up the instrumental jam. And I'm like, I'm going to
Aw.
do that too because that is a really, really good idea. And we both did that, and then we both came back, and there was no instrumental jam after, but that's fine because it was still a short vocal jam, which is what I really want. But yeah, it was a well played version, nothing great, but they've played it. This is the sixth time since they played it at Rock Lidditz, the last like fake New Year's, and this is the first time it didn't have that instrumental jam after the vocal jam. So maybe we're back to like regular Yam now. Like who knows? You never know.
It's normal days once again. That's too bad.
Exactly. All is back to normal. Yeah, and then Ruby Waves. I mean, yes, please. Another song that just always they find their spot, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty consistently a ripper. I think the one at Raleigh wasn't particularly long, right? There
Mhm.
was one at Raleigh. This one goes about 16, 15, 16 minutes. There's a heartbreaker jam in there. I guess it's more of a tease, not really a jam. It's really just Trey going at it, but it's a pretty shreddy version, really high energy. Our friend Brian says this is probably the highlight of the show for him, and I think
Ooh,
that's
yeah.
fair. It's a good highlight to pick. Um, I might, and I'm gonna do this now because I don't really have a lot of notes for the rest of the show except for one major thing that's not my highlight. It's so yeah, I think the Fluffhead might be my highlight from this show. But Ruby
Yeah.
Waves is great. Bowie's great. Really great gin. Um, Fishnet cites a Dave's Energy Guide tease in there,
Mhm.
but we all know those aren't real. So
Exactly. I thought this Ruby Waves was amazing. It had a really, really strong, authoritative, driving jam. The rhythm section just fully leading it. I thought it was amazing. I was looking back at RJ a lot and being like, what is going on? I mean, this set really, the whole show to me was really, really, really impressive. And to land after in Lonely Trip is just the absolute best ballad. Lots of hugs, lots of like, yeah, this is what it's all about, just the good vibes. And then we get a absolutely rip roaring back on the train and character zero. I mean, they literally just set the place on fire during those. I think I was surprised at the energy with that. I've been learning a new kind of dance, Jonathan. It's called shuffle dancing. And it's like this hip hop dance that's really fast. And I was able to do a lot of practicing on it this weekend, but especially during this back on the train. And I was so excited and I was doing all these new dance moves and it was really fun. So I really enjoyed this part. I remember looking at the stage during character 0 and Trey is just like fully, doing his crazy solo. And at the end, he like jumps back and like throws his hand off the guitar and the guitar kind of like jumps up. It looked like it was on fire. Like it was just it almost looked like the solo played him. I mean, Trey was possessed during the show. I thought that he just sounded so inspired, so motivated. I think overall playing with all these younger musicians has been really inspiring for Trey. I think not because he's learning from them or anything, but just because he loves playing music with people and loves connecting. And I think that that's been really inspiring and, encouraging him to spend a lot of time practicing just because he's inspired. So I think we're getting the benefits of that.
Yeah, I think he gets off on that energy. Do we want to comment on Gaiuti?
We have to, because this is like the one moment of the show that wasn't like, I think, absolutely perfect. And that's okay, because that to me is like what Fish is about. We can laugh at ourselves, we can have a moment of brevity and like, laugh. But yeah, yeah, this one, I think they probably left the stage feeling like really amazing after delivering the show. And we're like, fuck it, let's do Gaiuti. And then they came out and they were like, we maybe should have rehearsed that a few more times. That was my feeling on Gaiuti.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably what happened. Yeah, exactly. They were pumped and they were like, "We're gonna do Coyote," and it turns out maybe that wasn't quite the maybe Trey wasn't channeling the precision energy that he might have thought he was, or maybe he was just too pumped. But then they wrap it with a possum, and you can't go wrong with possum, and they don't. And you know, overall, really good show.
Yeah, really great show. Possum was an absolutely way to burn down the house. And I just wanted to put up this quote from Matt Higgins. He said, what a run. 12:29 had the best show opening 45-minute stretch since 10:28:21 in Vegas, in my opinion. What a show.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Solid.
Yeah.
Solid. It was a pretty good way to kick off a show.
Yeah. Definitely. Thought it was great. And then we head into the night before the night, my favorite night of Fish, the holy night of
That's
Fish.
only because you didn't go on the night. Come on. No, I'm
It's
just
true.
teasing.
No, I
This is a long
often
held
don't,
position. I know.
and I don't go on the night often. I haven't seen that many New Year's Eve Fish shows because I just there's something about the 12:30 show that I like that show better. But I also have to be with my family on the 31st, so it's not really like it's kind of like a forced thing I have to do. But
It's
I think
sour grapes, is what it is.
yeah,
You're like,
exactly. It's sour
those New
grapes.
Year's shows aren't all they're cracked up to be.
Yeah.
I like to go to the regular 2 set shows and just hope they play something good.
But you know what? They did.
They
They
did.
did. They did. And I was
Sure
super
enough.
happy with it. This show was so fun. And yes, we've talked about it, but being at the bar before was just magical. And it was one of those nights. I was texting Brian telling him that it was one of those nights where you just are in the right place at the right time all night. Like, you want to see someone and you didn't see them, and then you actually run into them right there, like Matt Higgins. I just ran into him, even though hadn't seen him right before the show, and I was like, Matt, it's Megan. It was just one of those nights where I kept running into people. I was in the right place at the right time, or you'd like get lost from somebody, and then you'd magically find them, and it just felt one of those nights when everything seemed to be working out really well. And we have a listener who No Man's Jams that says 12:30 is the psychedelic celebration of the year. I didn't know this, but I'm super on board with that, and that makes a lot of sense to me. And I also like your name because No Man's Jam is my thing, which we're gonna get to talk about in a minute.
Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, if 12:30 is your psychedelic celebration of the year, then what are you going to do on the next night? You got to go like extra hard. So be careful how those things stack up because January 1st comes around no matter what.
Yeah.
and then back to work on this third, maybe. What day is this? Tomorrow,
Yeah.
whenever tomorrow is. So hope everybody's going to be fine for that. But yeah,
I don't want to talk about that, Jonathan. I really don't want to talk about
tangents.
going back to work
Um,
tomorrow.
yeah, I just learned my son doesn't have to go back to school tomorrow. Son of a bitch. What's up with that's not fair. I got to
That is
work. He gets the
not
another
fair.
day. So not cool. Anyways, let's talk about this first set. Down with Disease into the
Yes.
MoMA dance. I knew you were loving this.
Loving
Pebbles
this.
and Marbles, Theme from the Bottom into Reba, The Howling, Foam, Antelope. I mean, were you exhausted by set break?
Dying. I was actually exhausted 14 minutes into this Down with Disease. Like, not even. Like, this Down with Disease hit so hard. I thought it just totally delivered. I love this as an opener. I just think it's such a like a power move. And I turned to my friend and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep up. Like, this is a lot. This is a lot for me. This Down with Disease was like galloping this jam. And again, on the backs of Fish and Gordon, like they were just completely delivering this super, super awesome jam. And I'm interested about what you think about this turn mic up thing. Like, I agree that I think on the live Fish recordings that I've noticed he hasn't sounded loud enough to me. In the room, I didn't feel that way, but
Yeah.
what do
I
you think?
was when I was in the room, I was right behind Mike, so I had no trouble hearing him. So
Yeah.
proximity helps. Um, I hadn't really noticed a big problem on my like live fish, like listening to it through my my phone because I account for the fact that you lose a little of that here and there just from compression and whatever. Um, I've heard people commenting on the live streams, and I didn't watch them. Like this night, no, what did I do this night? 12:30. I don't know what I did. I hung out with my family or something ridiculous like that. It was insane. Oh no, it was Friday. Yeah, Friday. I hung out with my family after brewing beer, so I might have had a few drinks early in the day and was just sitting around and didn't listen to the fish. I listened to this on the train on the way up the next day.
That's a really nice thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun, just to hear what you missed. But it is it's this good down with disease. They get right into it. It's like
Yeah.
they're like, we remember how to jam because we did it last night, so let's do some more. Like
Exactly. We're just gonna go right
right out of
into
the
it.
gate.
And the MoMA too, it's immediately like this layered, stunning jam right out of it. You know this is my song. I was so happy. Anytime I hear MoMA, I'm just happy. This is like one of my top 5 songs. So it was a great version too. And amazing how they can make a ballad work in slot 3. Like maybe because it's
Well,
Pebbles and Marbles, but I really
yeah,
think it
because
works.
it's not. I mean, Pebbles and Marbles says more than ballad. I mean, it's got some
That's true.
intense playing, and I'll tell you what. This next, like this 3 song stretch here, um, particularly given the playing of these next 3
Yeah,
songs, are something I really would have liked to have seen. Pebbles is a song I always want to see.
same. I
Theme
mean, it's
is a
only
song
been
I'm
played
never
27 times.
right. Theme is a song I'm never upset to see because I like it. But if they're gonna play it like this, they should be doing it in front of me.
Yeah,
Sorry,
this is totally a
nothing
your style
personal.
theme.
That's my
No, I
stuff.
agree. Yeah, I mean,
What a cool, unusual version.
loved it. It's one of the longest in history. It's just under 15 minutes. You never expect this song to go weird. Like, I mean, it's got a weird vibe to it, but this song just reminds me of like 95. And I don't know. I think it's something that I just expect to be like this short song. I don't expect it to be this,
It's
And it's
always had this
amazing.
potential though,
Yes, it
and at the same
should.
time, like in '95, when I'm hearing this song, I was thinking, why don't they like really, you know?
Yes.
And they
And it's
were
almost
doing
like
that
they
even
did that.
with some of those new songs. Like I saw them do it with Free that year, and they
Mhm.
could have done it, but they didn't. And but they did on the 30th of this year, and yeah, it's really dope. And it goes into Reba, which is
Yeah.
gorgeous,
And it gets like before we
gorgeous.
go into the Reba, this theme, it's such a funky jam. And Trey was doing like all these effects, and it has this like big evil spaceship landing at the end, which is just so cool and like just unexpected. We were all like freaking out when this is happening. I mean, this is definitely
Yeah.
my highlight of the set. and it was just totally blew everyone's minds. And then this Reba is absolutely flawless. There is nothing like being in Madison Square Garden and hearing Trey nail Reba. This is the 400th time this song has been played. I mean, that's amazing. And it was
Crazy.
perfect. Yeah, you just get to float in that Reba part, and it just feels really special to hear that song. And every time I hear that, it's like accessing like a deep part of me. And I just always think, I'll never know when my last time I'm going to hear Trey play Reba live. And so, like, every time I hear it, I'm like, I just feel grateful. It's so beautiful. It was perfect.
I think that's the right way to take it.
Yeah.
So then the last triplet here, we have the Howling, which they've done great things with.
Yeah. Fun.
And this is it's not like it's a big jam, but it's a great dance party.
Totally.
And to a Rip and Foam
Very
and
good
Antelope
version.
to just shut down the set. Hot,
And I don't know
hot little set.
what was going on during Antelope, but people were going crazy. I mean, the crowd kept going nuts. Like, it was just this energy surge. The crowd just kept like responding, and it would just, I don't know. There's something about this Antelope that just really built up, and the crowd was just like whipped up into a frenzy. I have to say, I haven't felt the energy like that at MSG in a long time. It was like really through the roof. Those 2 nights, the 29th and 30th that was there. And this Antelope, I don't know what was going on, but it was the perfect set closer. Everybody was just like, wow, at the end of that. It was great.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
don't think I need to follow that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Will
Will notes
Rubenstein.
the amount of energy in the room during Antelope was gigantic. Yeah. So confirmation.
Exactly.
Not that
Perfect.
anybody doubts your word. Set 2. We don't really need to talk about this. I mean, there's only just a few
Yeah.
songs, and I don't think it's really important in the canon or the weekend. No Man in No Man's Land, Golden Age, first cover of the run, Sand, If I Could, I Always Wanted It This Way. Megan, do you have words for this set?
I do. This is the best set of the run. And I always wanted it this way. This is like how I want my fish, right? Like, it's No Man in No Man's Land, one of my favorite songs to hear. It's just always has this dancey groove. I love the jams that they get into out of this song. And this one especially, Mike is just like leading this like sick baseline, dark undercurrent feeling of a jam. And then you have this Trey who's like always like sunny and heading toward the light, and you hear them like battling, and it's just searching and beautiful. And I feel like this is the moment when I realized like how patient they're all being, and how much they're listening to each other. And then you've got these like lovely tonal peaks and this exclamatory ending. This is a really cool jam and a beautiful way to start the set.
I don't think I can add to this. I will say I was tracking this set list from home, and they were on Sand, and I don't want to think I jinxed it, but I see that they're on Sand. And I looked at the time, which, because I'm there, it makes sense that I'm looking. If I'm at a show, I'm really not looking at the time. But I looked at the time and I thought they could go one more and have a 4-song set. It's completely reasonable at this point to think that, because it's getting
Mhm.
late. Because the golden age is big.
Yeah, it's really
The
big.
Sand is big, and also, let's just say, almost equal in time and duration.
Yeah, they're like exactly almost 18 minutes, right? Weird.
Yeah, and a beautiful landing into If I Could. But backing up on with respect to the Sand, I'm pretty sure that our friend Brian Brinkman sent us some comments. We haven't really touched on his comments too much,
Oh, yeah, we
but
should.
he said of 1229, it's the most fun he had with fish all year. But of this Sand, he says he feels that it is some of the best jamming of the year. Showcases maybe something of a new direction in his mind. Um, I, what do you think? New direction? I mean, great jamming, unquestionably.
Yeah, I was noticing during this jam that Trey was like perched on his pedal board. He had like his right or left leg, one of them like up on it, like half bent, and just like he was playing very like forward facing, like very like hungry feeling, very like leading, and there was a lot of focus. Like he was just standing in one place. It was really incredible to watch. I thought this jam was super textural and driving Paige on the organ a lot. I'm not good like Brian is about thinking about like the big picture of things while they're happening. He has like an uncanny ability to do that. But I can see that. I mean, I thought this jam definitely was probably the jam of the second set, although I love the Snowman's jam. But I think the sand is fascinating. I listened to it again today, and I also agree, Jonathan, that the landing into If I Could is so delicate and effortless. And this is the best ballad. It's
Yeah,
so
it's such a good
beautiful.
song. I still haven't seen it in a long time. But if this sand is the sound of 2023, I might go see them in 2023.
You might. Okay.
I
Well, I'll
might.
keep you to that. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
it sounded amazing.
I do want to talk about I Always Wanted It This Way because I always wanted it this way.
You
I have
did.
said
You've
many
been calling for this.
times that I want this song to break open. They've closed with it a few times, closed sets with it a couple of times, but this is the longest one yet. It is, and it's the one that actually gets out of its shell. Couple of the other ones kind of start to go, but they don't quite really. They don't really go type two. This one starts to. It just they just crack it open a bit and end big. And
Yeah.
this song, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm telling all of you right now, this song has a 25-minute jam potential, be it a set closer or not. I could open it. I could hear them open a set with it too, by the way. But I think it's a great set closer if they go along with it, and they proved me right with this one.
It doesn't it's like just under 15 minutes. It sounds longer than that though. Like it felt longer
Yeah,
than that in the room. It was like a journey. It was the ending was just thrashing, like tremendous peaks. It really felt like this whole set was just like one big mic drop, and this song cracking open like that. And I knew you've been calling for that. So I was thinking about you and I was like, this is crazy. It was amazing. I thought it was just cool, especially because the song is so funny in the beginning. It's just all those like synths and like, I don't know, it just has this like funny, it makes me laugh a little bit. And then to have it go somewhere very serious was really cool. It was really cool. It was
yeah. I mean
awesome.
it's got a dancey electronica vibe at the in its
Yeah.
core, uh but then Paige's ballad singing on top of it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And yeah, what a great song and an outstanding version. And then a straight ahead chalk dust torture encore to send you stumbling into the streets of Manhattan.
There's nothing else to do after this except
It's a
play
good
Chalk
ripper.
Dust.
It's yeah.
Yeah, just rip it up. And it's, when they came out and played it, this is my last show of the run. And so when they play that, it's only going to be a one song encore. So you're like a tiny bit sad, but like it was such a ripper and it would just destroyed the room. I mean, everybody was just screaming. There's
So
nothing like seeing MSG where everyone's screaming together. It's just really
yeah,
exactly like all the
exactly.
white lights and everybody just like feeling that way. It was the perfect ending. So I think overall this is the best show I saw. Well, I don't know. I'm torn if either the
You don't
29th
have
or
to
the
decide.
30th. I don't, but two of the best shows I saw all year for sure.
Right on. So before we
Yeah.
get into New Year's, should we talk about? I mean, I don't know if we actually have a paid sponsorship to this episode, but we have good friends who are known as to us and to you as Sunset Lake CBD, and they are great folks. They have an organic hemp farm, and they produce their own CBD. A farmer owned, Vermont grown is their tagline, and it's a good one because they grow it all, and they trim it all, they process it all, and they ship it directly from their farm to your door, and they are amazing. And I have like a little for anybody watching, you can see this, but I have just like a little sampler that is literally just landed on my door today. Um, they sell flour, and this is CBD hemp flour. If you're looking, you might can see it in that jar. It's
It's
beautiful
beautiful.
green stuff there. The salve, which I've talked about a lot. This stuff I use this on my hands. I've got arthritis. This helps a little, and it's great. Hemp salve. Let's see what else we have. Oh, these are your thing right here, Megan. The sleep gummies, which have CBD and CBN and melatonin.
Those things are the
So
best.
they're rad. And these, I've never had these. The Good Vibe gummies, 30 milligrams CBDs, 3 milligrams THC. Check this
Yeah,
out.
I
Cool
know.
label.
I had to
Boop.
those are on my kitchen counter, and my husband was like talking about them, and my kids are like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
just gonna
And of
walk
course,
away
they
from you."
do CBD oil if you're inclined to get into the CBD oil at varying strengths. This is the 750 milligrams, a little dropper bottle. And they have some with flavors. This one's mint flavor. They have a citrus, which I like actually. And this this is new to me. This is kind of nice. Maybe this is a holiday thing. I don't know. Hey, how about it? Um,
Some
CBD chocolate
chocolate
fudge.
fudge.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is. I mean, I'm gonna have to be careful because we got a bunch of fudge downstairs, and this is not the same. But how
One of
rad
these
is
things
that?
is not like the other. I
Yeah,
know.
right.
So great.
Sunset Lake CBD. We love them, and they're great. And you can find them at sunsetlakecbd.com and use our code HFPod. What do people get with that? Is that
You get
20
20% off your whole order.
20% off your entire order? And I'm going to tell you again, I've said it before, when you order from them, they ship quick. Like if you order today, you're going to have it. I don't know where you are, so I can't tell you when you're going to have it, but you're going to have it quickly because they
In
get
a
right
few
on that.
days. Mhm.
Yeah. I know I can get it in a couple of days. So, and I'm just down here on the East Coast. They're great and we love them. And happy New Year's to our friends over at Sunset Lake Craft CBD and to you guys. And speaking of New Year, should we talk
Beautiful,
about the
beautiful
show?
transition, Jonathan. That was well
Yeah,
done.
it's,
Wow.
it's like I've been doing this for a couple of years. Let's
Exactly.
let's get into this show. 12/31/22, Madison Square Garden. You know the place. You know what happened. So okay, podcast over.
A lot happened. A lot
A
happened.
lot happened.
Yeah.
Um,
So talk to me a little bit about your experience going in. Like, this is your first show of the run.
right.
You get to go up with your friends, big crew.
It's funny. I did. I went up. A friend of mine kind of contacted me kind of late and said, "Hey, we got another ticket. Come join us." It's like I need a place to stay. He's like, I got an extra bed in my hotel room. Boom. Okay, I guess I'm there. So I take the train up, get into New York like 1:30, 1:45, truck down to the hotel, grab a bagel on the way, eat that at the hotel, half of that at the hotel, stick the other half in the fridge, go meet up with my friends, and they're having a good time and getting excited, and we hung out for a little bit. And you know what? I left the hotel. I left early. I was like, it's 6. We were a block away, block and a half away. It's 6:28. I'm like, I'm going in. I won't have to stand in line. I'm gonna go in. And left almost everybody. Walked over with Crazy Dave. What's up, Dave? And got walked right in. Got myself a sandwich. Met Will. Had a good time getting ready. Got psyched. We were sitting behind the stage, real close. Like I was in the second row behind the stage in the corner at 111. If anybody knows
Nice.
111,
I
right
like those seats
behind
behind the
Fish and
stage
Mike. I love it
at
back there.
MSG. Yeah.
And we noticed right away that they had risers behind the band, which are not usually there, and we could see certain other elements covered in cloth and some things back there, some colored guitar instrument type gear and stuff like that. Give us some inkling. We could see the box, the cube. Maybe it was the ninth cube
I think
for
that's
time
fair.
travel after all. It's one of those cubes hanging up there above the screen. We could see Trey's green platform and started to formulate a little theory about what was going on. It really came together before set 3 started. But
Yeah, I
set
wanna say
1,
I really love that they had that platform up the whole run, and they had, like, like a mannequin up there, so you could see someone's feet, and like it looked like there was a body up there the whole run. It was really
Right.
funny. Yeah,
So
cute.
set one opens with Tweezer. Like we knew Tweezer was coming, right?
Yeah.
Set one is like talking about what's happening, what's going to happen, what are they going to play. Of course, this was all the talk before the show back at the hotel and whatever. It's like, well, Tweezer's pretty much a given. So is Mike's song, maybe. I hope they don't break it up. I know I said that. I was like, I hope they don't break it up. Oh, if they're not going to play Hydrogen, just don't even play Mike's. And some people got frustrated with me for saying that, but I mean it. Or at
That's a
least I meant it
consistent
then.
position of yours. That's a consistent
Um,
position of yours.
yeah, I mean, do all kinds of things with it, but just get the Hydrogen in there. And I, called for say it to be Santos, and I had a little debate with Gavin about, he hates Santos, and I was like, dude, it's basically a character zero vibe. Just go into it like that, and you'll be
It's fun.
fine. It's a
Yeah.
silly song. It kind of rocks. A lot of shouting, a lot of
Yeah.
sounds. Enjoy it. He seemed to have fun when they played it. He was right in front of me.
Mhm.
Anyway, so Tweezer, they come out and they played Tweezer, Megan, to open the show. It was really good.
It was a good little
We
jam.
I mean, we were looking for it, as I say, but they came out and they really did it. And it was 14 minutes. So it
Mhm.
wasn't like super long. I feel like there should be, I haven't gone back to listen, should be maybe some kind of arrow after Tweezer and Haley's Comet. I didn't feel like it was like full stop and the new song, but maybe I was just in the moment. But Haley's was cool and definitely had a great segue into Set Your Soul Free, which I did not see coming. And
Mhm.
it also kind of stretched a little, as we kind of expect that song to do, right? And we were rocking. Let's just be clear. Like, and we were not alone in this. You can really feel the floor move at the back there. You could feel the venue kind of, and we were riding the groove of the room, and they went into Rift, and I had two thoughts when they went into Rift. One was, I hope they don't fuck this up, and the
It's
other
always
was,
what you think when they play Rift. Me too. It's just like, "Oh god, do
and
good."
the
Yeah.
and the other was, fuck yeah, Rift. Um,
Mhm.
and so they played Rift, and it was great. It was great. I have no problem with this Rift. And then and Cavern. Okay, kick ass. Cavern. We're rocking. And that dropped us back into Tweezer.
I
Yeah,
love the
nice.
second tweezer.
Right. So let's talk about that, because they drop back into Tweezer, they play the riff, and then they like boom deep. They're in it. It's like, we don't, what this song is. We don't need to mess around. And they didn't mess
Yeah,
around. So
it's
like it's
amazing.
6 minutes long, and only, I don't know, I didn't track the times, but they're in it. They're in Tweezer proper structure for 20 seconds. They just like, this is Tweezer, by the way. Boom. Weird.
It's
Yes.
amazing how they can do that with tweezer. It's so great. I love it. I love
And
it.
then Shade. Love Shade.
Love shade.
Beautifully placed, I think. First real ballad here of the night. And really nice tender version. Um, and then Mike's song. And this is a straight ahead Mike's groove, right?
Yeah,
Nothing's
just classic.
extended, no real jams per se. But I Am Hydrogen was beautiful to see. I don't think I've seen 10 of them,
Mm.
despite all of the thank you, Perp. Despite all of the Mike songs that I've seen. Um, and this one was really good. The last peak, Trey really kind of leaned into the swell and
Yeah.
turned it up right on that note. And it's, and then slamming the weak pug, and we threw down some more. And I think a couple people were like, "Set's over." It's like, yeah, it's a little over an hour. We got a schedule. That's what I said.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I got a schedule. This is going to happen. Yes, we could have all danced for another hour. Some of us this guy might have needed a break. So, so
Yeah,
I
I
was
thought this was
okay
a
with it.
really, really good set, though.
Oh, it's an
It's funny.
outstanding
It's
set.
really good because I listened to this set. I was out with my family for dinner, and so I came home just in time to see set 3. And so I listened back to set 1 and 2 the next day, and it's funny because during the Haleys, I found myself tearing up during that line, "What is the central theme to this everlasting spoof?" Because it's just a great line, but it also just resonated with me about how, like, you get into Fish because you like the music and it's silly and it's joyful and it's
And you
fun.
go with your friends, and it's a
Yeah,
good
and you're, like,
time, and
partying, right? And yeah, and it's just like this everlasting spoof, right? It's just like this big joke, this fun thing, but then it's just become so much more than that with this, like, the way the community's grown and how it's so interconnected, and now we have all these, like, inside jokes, and it is, like, so many things are just, like, one big joke to us, which is why it's, like, so hard to explain
yeah,
the gag tonight, right? Or so hard to explain so many things about Fish because it's just so layered and connected and insidery, and that line just hit me so hard, and I just thought, like, just got me in my feelings. So
you're
that
right
was
on.
my takeaway when I listened back. But yeah, I thought the jam in Set Your Soul Free was awesome, and I again love that second Tweezer jam and just the classic mics. The Weeka Pog sounded like a little bit slower to me, which is good. I like it that way, but I know some people don't. But I thought this was a
Sometimes they
really good
play it
set.
so fast, you're gonna
I
sprain an ankle.
know, and I don't like that because I don't know how to dance that fast. I'm trying to learn, but I don't know yet. So I appreciated it.
Yeah, they, my my some of my friends were confused by the duration, but I think honestly
Mm.
they would have been confused by lots of things at that hour. So, I just told them, "It's cool, they'll be back, hang on." And they were.
Just keep it rolling. Yeah, so what did you think of set 2? We've got a Santos opener into 2001, Kill Devil Falls, Mercury into Light, into Waste, Drift While You're Sleeping, backwards down the number line.
So, they opened with Santos. I'm down with that. It's fun. 2001 was such a good drop into 2001. We were ready for it. We were hungry for it. Um, and it was good. It was, not 10 minutes long, but nearly. And so we really got to spend some time in there. There was a couple of bits that were a little unusual and a good unusual. I haven't gone back to re-listen to this set. Um, but they found their way into Kill Devil Falls after the peak. And Kill Devil Falls has a little jam. It's a good little jam. I really enjoyed it on the night. I look forward to going back to it. I will not be going back to this Mercury. Megan, I
So
think you're
tell me
muted. So, yeah.
why. Yeah, tell me why. Why aren't you going back to this?
I feel like Trey lost his place there. Um,
Mm,
and it didn't it they were not together. There was something not going right in Mercury. So they bailed.
yeah,
Um, so they bailed and they played Light. And Light was good. Light, stretched out a little bit, not super deep. I think there's some clock consciousness here. Um, and Trey just kind of leaned into theme a little bit after that. So,
yeah,
and I don't mean the song theme, of course. I think the gratitude theme here, and Light is part of that. Light is
yeah,
really like the beginning of Trey's. Actually, Light and one other song that I'm going to get to, or the kind of where the beginning of Trey's like gratitude songs,
yeah.
songs that are about looking to the light and such. And pretty much the rest of this show is about that. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what stood out to me too, was that the beginning of the set was like a dance party that then turned into like this like really reflective, like
yeah, I do,
appreciative feeling. Yeah, which sometimes works really well and sometimes doesn't. I know that Brian said about this set that this set is one of the worst New Year's Eve sets I've ever heard. He was shocked at how disconnected the band was, though he says it makes sense post gag. So,
yeah. I think really the Mercury is the only thing that's really wrong with it. Other than the fact that the bar was set high the previous couple nights, and on the
Yeah.
first set, um, light, I think they get back on track. They play well together. They're playing against the clock, though. Um, Goes into waste, nicely into waste. I was surprised to hear waste in one set after shade because waste shade is really like grown up waste. Um,
Exactly.
and then drift while you're sleeping. Some people do not enjoy that song. I love the intention of that song possibly more than I love all of the segments of that song, but that's
That makes
okay. And
sense.
then
I like that song, but I get it. I get why people don't
yeah,
love it.
and then the number line was great, and I can tell you that I was with people that I've known for a good long time now, who've known each other for even longer, and there were a lot of hugs in my section when number
Yeah.
line came on, um, and and then it was time to get ready. So we yeah, Jordan Sheldon is correct. Santos and Mercury kind of call back to previous New Year's. Um, and I want to highlight this comment by the Incredible Perp. Shade is the sequel to Main Street by Bob Seger. It is not. It is not. What it is all of those Main Street quotes that people have been marking on Fishnet set lists for the past 5, 6 years. They're actually Shade quotes. It's been Shade all along. And Bob Seger was trying to write Shade, and he freaking can't. So get out of my face with you, Bob Seger.
I
Sorry,
like
I don't like that
this.
guy. I like you, Perp, not Bob Seger. Anyway,
That's
so
awesome.
so
No, it's
the
true. I think that, like,
yeah,
what Jordan is saying here too about the ballad songs being just a weird choice for New Year's Eve, and, like, after having been to New Year's Eve Fish in 2016, I understand that sometimes, like, slower songs aren't really it's you have to really make them work on New Year's Eve. Otherwise, it's hard because people are in a certain mind state and they're partying
mhm.
in a way that they don't want to reflect slowly a lot. So I think that, like, having Waste, Shade, Drift While You're Sleeping, all of these songs,
They
it's
spread them
maybe
out.
not.
I mean, Drift While You're Sleeping also has some fast bits and some really cool bits. Um, if you don't try to wrap your head around the lyrics, you could do fine. Um, Depending on your state of mind, if you know what I'm saying here. So, but yeah, so the break comes on, happens, and they immediately get to work prepping the stage and moving things. And we're sitting in right there at the edge, right at the edge of the behind the stage. We could see all of the action. Things like they're not uncovering everything, but they're getting it ready, and then they move the thing in the place with the big switch, and and we see people over here. They're a choir. Holy shit, there's a choir. But wait, there's some guys who they look like barbershop quartet. There's a
Oh, so you could
band.
see them
We
before
could
the set
see
started?
people
That's
in the
cool.
wings, and like and I sat and I explained to Pie Guy and Birdman, my good friends,
These are
that
just really epic names. I have to stop.
yeah,
They're pretty epic.
that's
Do
who
you
they
have a
are.
nickname in this group before we move on? Do you have a nickname in
Well,
this group?
these are handles from a message board, right? So they have
And
real
what was
names.
your handle and your message on the
I'm Road
message board then?
Jimmy, so they all call me
Oh,
RJ, which is
you're still
especially weird when I
that's
show
so
up to a
funny.
room. Yeah. So, anyways, not
Okay,
important.
sorry.
So,
It
so
was
we're
important to
watching.
me, but okay.
It's okay. We're watching this, and I explain to them. And I explain. I mean, I make this all up, and I'm the sober guy in this group, like completely. And I'm like, "Oh, so what they're doing is they're calling back to all the previous Halloweens. They'll do like the little Bohemian Rhapsody, and they're gonna do, this, and they're gonna talk about the platform, and they're gonna, and I just kind of just spout this BS for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and they're like, right, that sounds great. That would be amazing. Okay. And then they did it.
I
Then they
mean,
did it. Um,
amazing.
I I've listened to this, but I haven't watched videos of it. I'm waiting for Fish to release one. If you look at videos of this, and if you look behind the stage, behind Mike and Fish in the corner there, you see a guy in a blue t-shirt. There's a girl in a pink dress right beside him. Those are my friends. I'm wearing a dark colored shirt right behind them. You probably won't see me, but you can see
You
them.
might be able to. They spend a lot of time in that section because they have the person on the trapeze thing, like the
Yeah,
mockingbird
well,
too, and
that's
yeah.
just to my right. So
Yeah, so there's a
when they
lot of
focused on
time on
them,
the
but
camera. You gotta watch it though, because
at
it's
some
such a
point I
spectacle.
will.
Yeah, you've gotta, yeah.
But anyways, how do I break down? I don't think I can break down all the action, right?
No,
They
it's too much.
they start playing Ghost, and for the Telegram guys come out and they do their thing. They play Ghost. Bohemian Rhapsody with the singers was amazing, and they changed the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, we're all singing along, but then they changed the lyrics.
That was really cool to, like,
It was
ghost. That
so
was really cool. That was so neat
peak
because I
stuff,
remember
though.
I was at that New Year's in '96, and I just had a crazy experience that night, and I was, like, alone because my boyfriend got kicked out of the show, and so I was alone on New Year's Eve, like, when they were singing Bohemian Rhapsody, and I was just, like, crying my eyes out, like, so when they started
Wow.
playing that, I was like, "Okay, well, here I am in, like, a better state of mind, and I can
There you
enjoy
go.
this time." But no, I thought it was great. I think the whole concept of this, going back in time and Trey saying that he wishes he could do it all again. And then, you know, first of all, trying to do them like by highlighting certain ones, like on the time machine thing, it splashes like 95 and then it's like oh 09 and 13. And then how, the wombat breaks the time machine. And then it just is all over the place. And everybody starts coming from all these different New Year's. And that was just such a fun, exciting thing.
Was it a wombat
Was
or was
it?
it a little squirrel? Wombats don't have tails like that.
I don't
Thing
know.
had
I
a
don't know what a
long ass
wombat looks
tail.
like. It
Oh,
did.
they're cute. You got to Google that when we're done. It's so
Okay,
cute.
I will.
And
I thought
and
it was a
and just
wombat.
interesting side note: when they poop, it's cubes. So that's
Really?
weird too.
Okay, well, so
Yeah, yeah,
Jordan's telling me it was a squirrel. Okay, thanks.
yeah. There you go. Um, but yeah, so without getting too far into it, the band comes out along the sidelines over on Page side, and I could see them walking. And I saw my friend Greg when I was watching the band. He was straight across. I looked straight past Mike out to the floor. There he was, probably with a great crew. Shout out to those guys. And yeah, Old Lang Syne, the Wilson thing with the guy on the platform takes his uniform, the jumpsuit off, and he's Tom Hanks, and they do the Wilson thing. Um, the big inflatable volleyballs with the Wilson face. One of them landed in my hands for a second,
No way,
and
that's
I
awesome.
looked at it, and I threw it behind me. Never saw one again.
That's
So
awesome.
you're welcome, whomever. I could have kept that, but I didn't.
Collector's item.
And yeah, it's fine. I don't need stuff. I have a lot of stuff. And then let's see. I think the naked dudes coming out of the cake was probably the most hilarious bit.
Frank
And when they
Carini.
started coming out, like, we were just falling out laughing. And then they boogied down. That Carini was great. They were dancing like crazy. They came to the back and danced facing us. And weirdly, it was like we were down to just the naked dude dancers, but also the two hot dogs stayed out the whole time with the naked dude
Yeah.
dancers. Just so you know, like, it's not quite noted up there, but yeah, it was so fun. And New York, New York, and then let's just drop back into Tweezer a little bit. Like, really? Okay, cool. And then they fell into Caspian, and Pie Guy hates Caspian. He's one of those fucker pants guys, He's like,
Yeah.
and he sits down, and I start laughing at him, and gets right back at us. I'm just kidding, and I think he even had a good time during that. Cross-eyed was a groove.
I know. I can't
Cross-eyed
believe
was
they
a
had the
real groove.
energy to play Cross-Eyed Painless and Piper, which is an incredible version of Piper, this late in the night.
Incredible version of
I
Piper.
mean,
So
What? How do they have energy to do this? They're amazing.
Let's look at it this way. So we had a big spectacle of a show, but if you go back and just listen to the music, it is a party. It is a
Mhm.
dance party. We were having a great time. They were having a great time. There was stuff to look at, but even if you listen to it on the tape, I think you can get a sense that it is just a party. And they were soundtracking a really good party. Um, they took it down a little bit with A Life Beyond the Dream, which I get it because I think that, this whole thing, as I said in set two, I think that, there's a sentimental aspect to this. It's not just, oh, let's look back at all these things. Aren't they fun? But after First Tube and before the encore, when Trey talks about that, um, you can really get how gracious and appreciative he is of everything, and we're appreciative. I think they know. There's always somebody who's taking things for granted, and I don't advise it. Just as you said during when you were talking about Reba, you don't know when it's your last Reba. You don't know when it's your last New Year's show. Um, and so that
No.
was the most heartfelt and I think most appropriate show of life that I've ever really experienced. Um, Brian cites a very good one, 2013 Jump Truck set. Fish loves sentimental time travel. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess they do. It's
It's so
interesting. I
true.
would, if I were a time traveler, I would be going to dead shows I never went to. Fish was like, "Well, I'd just like to do it all over again," and that's kind of rad.
Right?
Um,
I know. Brian Brinkman actually was saying that too, that this New Year's Eve gag reminded him of 2013. It's just harkening back to the jump truck and then thinking about the beginning and all that's happened since then. And I think that they're really good about that. And we are all nostalgic. That's why we love this band. So many of us that saw the band in the 90s because, it allows us to feel the way we felt when we were teenagers. And that to me, that nostalgia is a huge part of why I love Fish. And I think it's true for them too. I think
yep.
it's just I thought the show of life was great. Like I mentioned in the intro, it made me cry just listening back afterwards and just thinking about yeah, how fortunate we are and how special this is and how much fucking fun it is. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And the jump truck New Year's Eve is really fantastic. Really great. Special stuff.
Yeah, well, I've said this on the podcast before, and I actually said it in the hotel room before New Year's when we were just speculating wildly about the gag, and somebody said, "Yeah, well, they should do one where they have 4 stages, one in each corner of the room, and they're each on it." And I was like, "Well, that sounds cool, but they always play better when they're pushed together, whether it's under the hourglass or on the jump truck." And I
Yes.
definitely cited the jump truck, um, or the haunted house. Um, I think that, like, pushes them, out of their comfort, but closer to one another, and they focus in on the business, and, it usually works out well.
Storage jam.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Stories Jam. But back to something else you touched on, that we're all kind of Fish fans are programmed for nostalgia and I think ritual. It's a thing I see in so many Fish fans, at least the serious ones. These kinds of massive appreciation for ritual and observing and creating ritual.
It's primal.
And yeah, and Fish gets it; they're into it too. And this is a perfect example of that. And what a great night! What a great band! What a great year. Um,
Yeah. That's what
and
that's what I kind of took away from this is that I took away that the band's inspired right now. The experience that they have of 40 years, being rehearsed and being confident enough to take on like this, big run at MSG and crush it. And also I think MSG, like they love this venue. It is their most played venue. They've played it the second most of anybody in the world now, and there is something about playing at this venue. The staff, the people that work there, I'm just going to shout them out for a minute because their professionalism is on another level. Every single person who works in events should have to go and train at MSG with the staff, whether it's like the people in the bathroom explaining to you how to make sure the toilet's flush, to like them constantly cleaning the bathrooms so they're not disgusting. There's, everybody that works concessions
They
is
put the
so
things
kind.
down out in front of the water fountains so that don't end up with, floods. No other venue can figure that out. Come on.
I mean, it's
Ugh.
it's like they've thought of everything and they're constantly trying to make the experience good for the fans, and they love it when we're there. The people that work there always say to me, like, "You're our nicest crowd. We love when you're there." There's just such a good vibe that goes on at MSG. So to me, it was like, all these rumors of another Baker's dozen or a Sweet 16 or whatever they're thinking of doing. It made me think that it's true because they came out and they were like, "You don't wanna miss us in this place. You don't." And
Let's add to it a couple more things before we wrap this up. The
let's do it.
the lights. Like everybody knows at this point that Kuroda designed the lights for the Rangers, and so when Fish is there, he controls all the lights in the room. And I mean, they even had the lights around the box seat portals,
Those were awesome.
synchronized. That was amazing. And now they have the sky cam, which is swooping in for the
It's
video stuff.
amazing.
Like, come on, this is like hockey game coverage. Um, and so even the people at home are getting the benefit of this special relationship. And I know people are talking on social media about the MSG Entertainment facial recognition stuff. And I get that, but I'm not in a lawsuit against MSG Entertainment, so I don't expect they're going to stop me from walking in, and I intend to do it again, uh, maybe this summer.
Maybe, maybe. I know that I'll definitely be trying to go to as many as I can, and I'll squeeze as many of you in my house as I can fit. How about that?
Save a spot for me.
You got one.
All
Um,
right.
Amazing. Well, we did it, and thank you so much to everybody that was in the chat. It was so great. So many of you I saw this weekend, and that makes me so happy. And those of you that I didn't get to meet, I hope I'll meet you soon, maybe this summer. And yeah, we'll be back next Monday. Jonathan, this was awesome. Thank you.
It's a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody. Thank you,
Thanks,
Megan.
everyone. Yeah, thanks. We'll see you soon.